On September 1, 1939, World War II broke out, thus intensifying Adolf Hitler's notoriety on the international scene. Indeed, no one can deny the impact that Hitler and his disciples had on the world during World War II, although few people know that Nazi Germany had begun its work long before this war, as it also sought to spread its Nazi ideology in other regions of the world, starting with the Amazon. Among other things, a Nazi cemetery was discovered in the heart of the Amazon rainforest in Brazil, with a tomb in which a certain Joseph Greiner is buried. Joseph Greiner died here of fever on January 2, 1936, while serving German research. One can read in German on the inscription engraved on this tomb that bears a wooden cross adorned with a swastika. Greiner was a Nazi missionary who had been sent to the Amazon in 1935 to conduct some research for the Third Reich as part of the Guiana Project. The project was named so because the Nazis were located not far from French Guiana, meaning that the Third Reich desired this French territory in South America, as well as the other nearby British and Dutch colonies. This clearly demonstrates that the Nazis were determined to create a German colony in the midst of tropical forests and to colonize the rest of the world. This part of history even slightly inspired the American movie, The Boys from Brazil, released in 1978. What you have just discovered, however, is not the only unknown fact about World War II. There are other secrets that you are about to discover today. Here are therefore the hidden mysteries of World War II. The ideology of Nazism strongly influenced the course of history and played a crucial role in World War II. Yet although the world has turned the page on this sadly infamous period, the symbols of Nazism have survived, even after the end of World War II. Moreover, discoveries continue to be made. In Germany, swastikas as well as pro-Hitler inscriptions have been found on church bells in 2 German cities. If anonymous demonstrators have done everything to mask the symbols of Nazism in the municipality of Schweringen, it was not so in Erxheim, where the city's parish council voted to keep the bell bearing the Nazi symbol as a memorial against violence and injustice. Obviously, this decision was not to everyone's liking. It even prompted a good number of people to protest and to ask for the removal of this bell, which may still be there. By the way, did you know that there is another bell that has been at the center of speculation? This bell is the famous Diego Loch, a secret device that serves both as a UFO and a time machine, which was supposedly designed by the Nazis in the hope of changing the course of World War II, in favor of Germany of course. Well, all this is just a legend, except for UFO enthusiasts. Ernst Devick, Cody, and Charles Halley Saddams were 2 American Navy pilots, while on a mission aboard their airship for a routine surveillance intended to locate Japanese submarines in the ocean. The 2 men mysteriously disappeared from radar. In fact, it all starts on August 16, 1942. That day the American Navy airship L-8 took off around 6 in the morning, with Cody and Adams on board. Unfortunately, a few hours later the airship crashed on a suburban street in Daly City, California. Firefighters then rushed to the scene to try to save the 2 pilots, but here they discovered that there was no one aboard the airship. Cody and Adams had strangely disappeared, and then they were never found, which has given rise to several theories. Some claim that the 2 men were captured by the Japanese, that they were killed by a stowaway, or they killed themselves over a woman, that they both fell from their airship into the ocean, that they were abducted by aliens. Well, everyone tries to find an explanation, without however managing to solve the enigma. Today, more than 80 years after this disappearance, the case of the American Navy's ghost airship remains an intact mystery. A few months ago, Oppenheimer, a film that tells a crucial phase of World War II history, was released. The Manhattan Project, a research project whose ultimate goal was to be able to manufacture an atomic bomb, under the scientific direction of American physicist Robert Oppenheimer. The American president of that time, Harry Truman, had given his agreement for this large-scale operation, which was to quickly lead to the end of the Pacific War that opposed the United States to Japan and to the capitulation of the Empire of the Rising Sun. We know the rest. On August 6, 1945, the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, followed by a second one that fell on August 9 on Nagasaki. Japan's capitulation finally occurred on August 10, 1945, the day after the dropping of the second atomic bomb on Nagasaki. Have you ever wondered what would have happened if the atomic bomb had not fallen on Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Well, the Soviet Union would have intervened. The United States and the Soviet Union were allies during World War II, and President Truman hoped that Stalin would mobilize his troops against Japan, which the latter began to do in Manchuria, a region occupied by Japan. But with the atomic bomb, the United States was able to defeat Japan without needing the help of the Soviet Union. Without Hitler, World War II might never have taken place. Well, that's what many think, while others believe that Hitler was just a pawn, and that if he became the strong man of the Third Reich, it's perhaps thanks to secret societies that exalted the theory of racism. The story of these secret societies began with the unification of Germany in 1871, and their role would have marked young Adolf Hitler. He would have been strongly influenced by the ideology of these secret societies that were behind the rise of Nazism. Almost 80 years ago, Glenn Miller, famous American big band jazz and swing orchestra director, and performer of the famous In the Mood, disappeared. The musician died on December 15, 1944, in a plane crash over the English Channel, when he was flying from England to France where he was to give a concert in Paris. Officially the accident was due to bad weather, but this version has been questioned by British aviator Fred Shaw. The latter claims that the plane, carrying Miller, was shot down by fire from an Allied plane. According to him, British planes heading towards Germany had been forced to drop their bombs at sea, after the planned bombing was cancelled due to bad weather conditions, so Fred thought, and was even sure, that one of these bombs had hit Glenn Miller's plane, even though this statement has been rejected by some. While others suggested that the musician died not aboard that plane, but rather in Paris. Well, almost 80 years after his death, Glenn continues to fuel the most extravagant theories about his disappearance. So, this means that we may never know what really happened on December 15, 1944. Japan, the Soviet Union, is the story of a rivalry that began long before World War II. This rivalry was especially territorial, as both powers each tried to have an influence on a set of regions in the Far East. But the advent of World War II and the difficulty of having to fight simultaneously on two different fronts, led the two countries to sign in 1941 the Soviet-Japanese Neutrality Pact, a non-aggression pact that ensured a military détente between them. Well, for a certain period only, because the turn that the Pacific War was taking led Stalin to make the decision to go to war with Japan. However, we can say that Japan was taking all its precautions, since the country had also developed a plan. This last, created by the General Staff of the Imperial Japanese Army, is partly approved by Emperor Hirohito, was famous under the name of Operation Kantokuin, was established in 1941, the same year Japan signed the Soviet Pact, with the goal of invading and occupying the Outer Manchuria, taking advantage of the outbreak of war between Germany and the Soviet Union in June 1941. Apart from that, Japan had also implemented another scientific plan, which consisted in the creation of 2 units intended to prepare chemical and biological weapons to fight the enemy. These units, 731, were then destroyed at the end of the war, after conducting a series of indescribable experiments on many humans. As for Kantokuin, in the end, it was never carried out. Among the riskiest operations conducted by Great Britain against Germany during World War II, there is Operation Justice. It was during the night of May 16 and 17, 1943, that it took place. Indeed, on that date the fighters of the Royal Air Force headed towards the Ruhr Valley in Germany. Their target were the main dams of this region, which was famous as the industrial heart and war factory of Germany. The RAF then had a new generation of bombs, called bouncing bombs because they bounced on the water and then exploded under its surface, before reaching the target to destroy. The person behind this innovation was a British engineer named Barnes Wallis. He had managed to develop these revolutionary and highly destructive bombs. After numerous tests carried out, the British Army was finally ready to conduct this secret operation. During that night, the RAF planes dropped the bombs on 3 dams, causing incredible flooding over tens of kilometers and causing the loss of a large number of people and animals, as well as the complete destruction of some dams and hundreds of properties. The Nazis built a network of underground tunnels in Poland. This network of secret tunnels was discovered by explorers a few years ago in Lublin. The Germans had begun the construction of this network in 1943, only they blew up the entrance in 1945, but they also sowed explosives to prevent access to the tunnels after the war. For many, this meant that the Germans had some secrets to hide in these tunnels, in fact specifically a military installation with a hospital, as some claim. Or these tunnels were intended to hide the Nazis and their weapons for a few years after the war. What do you think? Do you know how Hitler died? Officially he committed suicide on April 30, 1945, but many do not really believe this version. Some even think that he managed to escape to Latin America. In any case, this is what emerges from some American documents that claim that Hitler lived in Tunja in Colombia. Hitler would have changed his name, calling himself Adolf Schrittheim Major, and would have even worked for a Dutch shipping company before going to Argentina. Obviously, attempts have been made to refute all this information, and then according to the author of a book that talks about Hitler, the latter would have died in Latin America in 1984, at the age of 95 years. Now tell us in the comments how you feel, after discovering all these realities about World War II. Do not hesitate to take a look at our channel, other equally interesting videos await you.